So we are on a cruise ship, the MSC Splendida, on a journey around the whole of Japan.
So this is Sakata. Nah, it's good. I like it.
We've just arrived in Sakata, a remote little place in Yamagata prefecture in northern Japan. Not too many tourists go to a place like this in the countryside, the so-called Inaka of Japan. Alas, the arrival of our cruise ship is a huge event to the people of Sakata, especially as the economic prospects in the countryside of Japan are looking grimmer every single day. I want to show you here why you should deviate a little from the beaten path of the big cities and visit a small place like this. I'm Nico, and with me is my lovely sidekick Tatsui. Let's go and start our day trip through this wonderful, charming little place. Today's adventure starts on the top deck of our cruise ship, where we observe that the people of Sakata have set up a farmer's market, along with a musical performance.
The view here is epic. I mean, cruise ships have the massive advantage of being literally swimming skyscrapers. That means wherever you go with a cruise ship, you immediately have a tower where you can look at stuff from already with you, a portable tower basically.
As the port was quite a distance off from the town center, we sat down on a bus to head towards it. Arriving at the town center, we noticed that a ton of motivated students were here volunteering to assist and guide the cruise ship passengers. Stalls selling local goods were set up too, eagerly awaiting the cruise ship customers. And honestly, that is unsurprising as cruise ship passengers spend an average of $100 per location they visit. While the big cities of Japan are often dazzling and shiny, Sakata in contrast seems to be much more worn down. This is a sign of the struggling economic prospects of the Japanese countryside, as more and more people move to the bigger cities for better opportunities. I can really understand the locals' excitement coming from 3,500 cruise ship tourists visiting and adding a potential $350,000 to the local economy.
Delicious. So this kind of store is a mixed-use store. That means it's a house and a store in one. So this is quite popular still in the Japanese Inaka, the Japanese countryside. And it has a lot of advantages, mixed-use housing, because the shop owner doesn't have to pay rent for both his house and his store. It reduces prices of these stores. The prices were low, right?
Yeah, low.
Yeah. For something homemade, that were great prices, and it kind of gives a real charm to it. It's not just something that is made to make money, but it's something to, well, it's a livelihood, not just your salary, you know, that you make there. And that just, it's just nice to go into one of these stores. Bye.
We arrived at what is probably the most famous site of Sakata, the Sankyo warehouse, consisting of a row of 15 identical barn-like storehouses and existing since 1893. It still functions as such today, and its importance is understandable. The harsh winters of northern Japan allow for only one harvest of rice per year. Rice requires 3 months to grow, and the warmer south usually enjoys 2 harvests per year. This storehouse is nothing flashy. It is rather simple, but it is really well taken care of, presumably because people care for it.
Japanese culture.
Amazing.
Every place has a story, and it's precisely those stories that we enjoy travel for. We connect to stories, and to the people who tell them. And it is precisely this connection that makes things worth fighting for.
And I like how the people always wave from boats. It's like the rule in Japan, wave to boats and wave from boats, and from trains as well.
To get to the next side of Sakata, we took a stroll through a local neighborhood. I actually like doing that, as it allows me to see Japan behind the scenes, behind the flashy tourist attractions. It gives me the opportunity to feel the lives of the ordinary people of Japan. We arrived at the Honma family residence, which is dated back to the Edo period. The building is incredibly well preserved and nowadays functions as a small museum. For that, you were paying an entrance fee of around 500 yen. However, the museum is accompanied by a small garden, which is nice to look at and free to enter. I genuinely appreciate how well the Japanese maintain their culture. Even though this residence isn't all that much, the locals here make the best out of it. This is something that I really appreciate the Japanese for, their ability to make the most out of any situation. We now wanted to get a taxi to explore some of the outskirts of Sakata. Thing is, getting a taxi was surprisingly challenging. You see, in Japan, Uber exists in a very limited form only, and definitely not in the countryside like Sakata. So one option would be to call a cab. Well, it would be if we actually knew their phone number, which we don't. And while Japanese is okay for us, most tourists will probably struggle to communicate with the cab company operators due to the language barrier. A real problem, actually. We thus relied on hailing a passing taxi, which took its time, of course, as there aren't too many of them around in the countryside. This might not be a big deal overall, but it's definitely a factor why only few tourists go to wonderful remote places like this. When you make laws that hold process out of protectionism, such as blocking Uber to protect cab companies, you kill opportunity. And with less tourists going to remote places due to a lack of taxis and other infrastructure, transport companies won't be able to make as much money. Some will go bust, others will reduce their capacity. Public buses in Sakata go at most hourly, for example. And in turn, even less tourists will go to the countryside, making matters worse and worse. A vicious cycle that we can see everywhere in the Japanese countryside. An example. Imagine a hairdresser closes down due to a lack of customers and moves to a bigger city for better opportunities. All of a sudden, a ton of people don't have easy access to a haircut anymore. Maybe they'll need to drive further or spend more time and money for another haircut. Maybe that would be the straw that breaks the camel's backs for some of those people affected, and they too will move to the city. That'll be less services, less tax revenue, and less things to do for the people left behind, incentivizing them to leave too. Gradually, all services will decline, and people will have no option left but to move. In a way, this mirrors something that a lot of people have personally encountered, and I'm talking about depression. Getting depressed, you end up pushing everything further away, you lose motivation, and you then end up achieving less, and in turn, you get even more depressed. Vicious cycles all around, difficult to break out of for individuals and small communities in the Japanese countryside alike. We took a taxi back to the main street, where our exploration of Sakata previously started. This is a place that normally should be bustling and lively. Abandoned buildings, a worn-down camera store, and an empty street. Is that just a taste of what's to come to the people of Sakata? This area around Hiyoriyama Park is quite idyllic. A shrine, a temple, and a phenomenal view. It would be nice to say that such a lovely place has a happy ending.
What do you feel?
Nature.
But the harsh reality is that with people moving out of the countryside more and more, the town of Sakata will die. This is the fate of Sakata and many other towns in the Japanese countryside like it. We return to the farmer's market next to our cruise ship. With all the effort that the people of Sakata put into welcoming the cruise ship guests, it's clear that they love their hometown. I had a blast visiting this charming place in the countryside of Japan, and alas, I want to make sure to bring the locals here as much joy as they brought me.
Pikachu time! Pika Pika! Pika Pika!
Everyone, be it young or a senior or everyone in between, took part into making this day as awesome as possible for everyone involved. And this is why you should go and visit the countryside of Japan. You aren't going to get this level of welcoming in some of the bigger cities, and it's so much easier to connect and get interactive with the people in Japan right here. We even got a piece of origami, handmade by the people of Sakata as a parting gift. I really wish them the best possible future in their lovely little hometown. For us, it was time to depart though, onwards to new adventures. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you want to follow us on the rest of our cruise journey around the whole of Japan. Hope to see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye! Bye, Sakata. Pika, pika. Pika. Pika, 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 pika.